Ideally, the role of parents and the social surround is to nurture the child in open and eager anticipation of what will unfold, just as we do with plants. Plants invite us to unfold. This is a good thing, because one can hold many more grains of sand in open hands than in clenched fists. Plants invite us to be more human, to come down to earth. After all, the very words human, humility, even human, have as their Latin root humus, meaning the earth. Because we are portable and plants are more or less stationary, and we name them and they do not name us, we sometimes lose sight of our kinship with them. But children know better, for they look at the world from the ground up. Some time ago, I visited some friends with a 4-year-old son. He had a big red rubber ball that he was throwing around, and one of his throws went astray and hit a large potted plant in the corner of the room. He ran to retrieve the ball, but on his way stopped to kiss the leaves of the plant. Now, some of my fellow psychologists might say this is an example of projection or mistaken identification. I think it's a story about recognition. The boy recognized some similarity between himself and the plant. He knows he has feelings, and so the plant must have feelings too. And he felt a responsibility to make amends. What we see in this story is not a child's mistake. What we see is the birth of morality. The boy has floodlight attention. He sees the big picture. In time, he will learn spotlight attention. He will learn to name the parts of the plant, and how to distinguish and discriminate it from other plants. And having learned all of these important distinctions, he will be no closer to the truth of what he knows now. He knows now what sages and mystics seek for years to discover: the force that animates and unifies all life, the healing, restorative energy behind all forms, patterns, and masks. His intuitive knowledge may get buried beneath academic lessons, but it will resonate when he is outside amongst things that grow. And when he is out under the big sky, looking to the long horizon, he will notice important things. Things that will console him later when he feels the rough edges of this hard, sweet life. He will notice that wherever there is sunlight, there must necessarily be shadows. But that it is equally true that wherever there are shadows, there's bound to be light. In Jewish tradition, the dimple above the upper lip is an impression left by an angel's finger. Just before we're born, we know everything. Everything past, everything present, everything future. And then an angel comes along and says, shh. And we come into this world innocent and ignorant, but not entirely. There are times in our lives when we catch glimpses of what we once knew, of the underlying energy and eternal presence behind the multitude of forms that we find in this world. Tulips and trees, rocks and rivers, 4-year-old boys, and large potted plants. And such glimpses often appear in the presence of a child. Children, by their nature, see the world as new in every present moment. We adults have much behind us, much in front of us. We have memories of the past, anticipations of the future. I'm imagining it's like a river with two banks. Here's the bank of the past, here's the bank of the future. Children float and swim more freely right in the present moment. While doing so, they create memories that are then washed up onto the shore of the past. These memories, in turn, create anticipations of the future. Memories create anticipations, and every memory is born in the present moment. Everything emanates from and returns to the present moment, without even realizing the generosity of their invitation. Children, in their natural exuberance, invite us to that moment, the only moment we have. Children are sacred beings. They invite us to remember what we once knew. They have a bold vision of a world that is free and just, a world without boundaries, without fears, without malice. They are emissaries of that truth. Their appearance amongst us is both a promise and a possibility. Their vision is our hope. They each have a birthright to experience delight and joy, health and well-being, to be safe and secure, to unfold to their fullest promise by being nourished in body, mind, and spirit, to be loved and to live in peace. In far too many instances, children are not given these things. The circumstances of their lives, poverty and prejudice, abuse and neglect, hunger and illness, violence and fear, stunt their growth and block their development. The latest epigenetic research suggests that exposure to such toxic levels of stress and adversity in childhood has not only indelible emotional ramifications, but also neurological and even genetic consequences that impact future generations, compelling them to tragically repeat the very patterns of childhood trauma their predecessors suffered when young. Certainly, this sobering reality has social and economic implications, but it also confronts us with a moral imperative. Here in New Mexico, our beautiful, sunlit state, the lives of far too many children are entrapped in such darkness and despair. How are we to respond? Imagine this room right now in total darkness. There's light out in the hallway. Someone gets up and opens the door just a crack. What happens? A shaft of light comes from the hallway into the room and dissolves the darkness. Does an equal shaft of darkness from this room go out into the hallway? No, because light always overcomes darkness. Who will open the door? Perhaps you've noticed in this room, there is a reservoir of hope. For we are in the presence of advocates of courage, advocates of compassion, advocates of change. We come from many walks of life, but our paths cross today in this gathering in behalf of those we hold most dear, our children. I say our children because the well-being of every child is our shared responsibility. There is no more significant measure of the character of a person or of a society than the manner in which it treats its children. In the dark past and in the present shadows, by all counts, to its shame, New Mexico has failed its children. However, nothing can be done about the past. Time's arrow moves only in one direction, toward the future. and therein lies our hope. A child cannot be treated separate from the context in which they are growing. Just as a plant that is not doing well cannot simply be plucked up, treated, and then put back. No part of the systemic problems we have in our state can be treated in isolation. We have to be wiser in our approach. And we have to demand of our public servants an holistic appreciation of the difficulties our children face, of the adversity they experience, of the multiple and diverse challenges to their well-being. This is what we need from our public officials, a mentality of triage, in which there is a singular focus to heal the society by collectively addressing its most urgent problems. This will take an unprecedented commitment of minds and hearts and political will. But once it begins, once the door is ajar, the shaft of light that appears will not only illuminate the person who opened the door, but the entire society. We face today at the national level a cruel and unrelenting threat to the well-being of our children and families. And in our own state, we have witnessed years of disregard, if not disdain, for those in need. But there is a crossroads up ahead, with the prospect of the political landscape shifting beneath our feet and opportunities for change opening up before us. The direction we take, the determination we show, the dedication we bring to this endeavor will reveal much about who we are and who we wish to be. As much as backwards beckons, future forward is the only direction for us to move. Our kids are counting on us.